What is going on, all you wonderful A-Plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about the Fallout TV show that is now on Amazon Prime. Now, this show isn't an adaptation of any specific Fallout game. Rather, it is an original story that is set in the world of Fallout, one that actually fits in the continuity of the video games. Something that I actually think could have benefited a few other shows currently out there at the time. Originally, when Last of Us got announced, I actually thought that Last of Us should have gone that direction, although then the Last of Us show came out and it turned out to be amazing, so then I was like, maybe they shouldn't have done my suggestion there. But I think for a show like Halo, for example, now, I haven't seen Halo, but I have heard a lot of complaints about the show from its writing, from its really bad adaptation of the video game. The bad adaptation essentially being the fact that it's not really adapting any of the Halo games. Rather, it's just taking characters from that world and then putting into a completely different kind of world with a whole new plot, a whole new setting that just doesn't fit into the universe of Halo. So it's like they don't adapt, but they also don't try to fit in the game's continuity. And from what I understand, that's like one of the many downfalls of the Halo show currently on Paramount. But again, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak for myself. I've also never been like the biggest Halo guy. Like most of the time when I played back in the day for Halo 1, 2, and 3, it was mostly multiplayer. The only campaigns that I actually beat in Halo was Halo 1 and Halo 3, so there you go. Also, I'm really going on a tangent here. I thought we were here to talk about Fallout, not Halo, so let's get back to Fallout, the TV show. So in the show, we follow three main characters. We got Lucy, we got Cooper, aka the Ghoul, and of course, we got Maximus. Now, like I said, this takes place within the world of Fallout. So, Lucy is currently a vault dweller. Now, those of you who don't know what the vaults are, the vaults were essentially really complex, like bomb shelters that were made to basically have an entire kind of civilization live in there after the nukes were going off. This is a kind of alternate future where everything kind of runs on radiation and there's a lot of tension. It's like the Cold War, but even more tension than there was during the Cold War. It's essentially in the Cold War, people were afraid that the world could end at any moment. In this, it's less that people are afraid that it could end, it's more that they're afraid that it will end. Like, everyone seems to know that the nukes are going to go off eventually. And that's what kind of makes the world of Fallout so unique. So, like, there was, like, a lot of preparation for this, and thus you have the vaults. Now, something that is kind of a spoiler for the show, unless you know about the games, is that these vaults were secretly all used for specific experiments. So you would have some vaults, one where they would, for example, separate the children from their parents just to see how they would react. And then you had a whole nother vault where it was 99 men and 1 woman. So, you know, things like that. They would do weird experiments with these vaults. So when you're watching this show for the first time, you're just, you're kind of like thinking it's a regular vault, but there's something going on here. But if you're watching this as a fan, you're watching this knowing, okay, there's going to be a twist about this vault. What is the twist that's going into this? One thing that we do see is that this vault is actually connected to 2 other vaults. So this is Vault 33 and it's connected to Vaults 32 and 31. In the very beginning of the show, we find out that Vault 32, there are no one's living in there currently. It's been taken over completely by raiders, but we don't know how. We don't know what happened to the people in the vault, if they were killed by the raiders. And this is something that, you know, the show explores through the season. That's one of the many mysteries. And on top of this is one of the mysteries that doesn't even get solved with our main characters per se. It's all kind of done with the side characters who we see continuing to live in the vault after their vault had been basically ransacked by raiders. The character we follow, the first one anyways, is Lucy, and she's one of the vault dwellers, and her dad is the overseer, which is basically the person in charge of the entire vault. So he ends up getting captured by these raiders, and so she leaves the vault in order to go looking for him. Very similar to the plot of Fallout 3, which, for the record, when it comes to my knowledge of the Fallout franchise, I have played Fallout 4, but I never got far in it. I think once I discovered how much fun it was to basically like craft in that game, I think I just got addicted to just making Sanctuary like basically kind of the perfect civilization, and I forgot to like actually play the game itself. So, but Fallout 3 I did beat all the way through, including some of the DLC, and I absolutely love that game so much. And they have a very similar plot because you play as a vault dweller in Fallout 3 and you're looking for your dad, and you find out that your dad may have a few hidden secrets, and that's exactly the case here. Something I really got to give a shout out to about this dynamic father-daughter dynamic here, whoever the casting director is, very good job, because so the overseer is played by Kyle MacLachlan, who probably a lot of people know as the FBI agent from Twin Peaks. And then Lucy is played by Ella Purnell, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. And the two of them look like a real life father and daughter. They look like they can be related. So I got to give a shout out. Whenever I notice something like that in a movie, I always got to give a shout out to the casting director, because that's, not too common. Most of the time you can tell it's just actors pretending to be related, but they look absolutely nothing alike. This is not one of those cases, and I thought that was pretty awesome. But then we get to our other character that we follow, which is Maximus, and he is a member of the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, the Brotherhood of Steel are basically kind of, I guess, the closest thing to a government military that you get in the Fallout universe, because they are spread throughout all of America, and they all kind of have a, seemingly simple mission, which is to recover old tech, because they believe that old tech should not be allowed to be in the hands of just, common people, which, I mean, given that they live in a world where, tech was used to literally destroy that world, you could see why they think that, honestly. They even though they are not really ever portrayed to be the good guys in any of the Fallout games, they're always made to seem like they're the good guys, but then there's always, like, you find out the really, like, hidden dirty secrets for the Brotherhood of Steel. Besides that, though, you can kind of see how they would get on board with wanting to hide tech from everyone, given the world that they currently live in. That's always something I found very unique about the whole thing. So he's basically a Brotherhood of Steel member. He's trying to rank up so he can get one of the really awesome power suits that they wear. But he ends up being a knight's squire. Now, what's really cool about this character here, Maximus, is he's kind of the neutral guy in this. The other character we follow is a guy named Cooper, who's also known as the Ghoul. And so from this, we have three characters who live in the wasteland and that we follow. So what's cool about this dynamic with these three characters is they are all completely different, and one of the ways it's represented is through their morality. So you got Lucy, who I think you could easily say, because she grew up in a very simple society compared to everyone else living on the wasteland. Because of that, she is definitely a paragon of good. She has, morals that she grew up with, and she has never been challenged with those morals at all. And it's only just getting challenged as she gets into the wasteland. You then have, the Ghoul, who originally was an actor, and from what they show us in the flashbacks, he seemed like a really good guy, to the point where he didn't even feel good about playing someone who kills people in a movie. He's basically an actor who plays a hero, and he doesn't like the fact that in this new movie that he's shooting currently, his hero has to kill. But then when we see him in present time, we see that he is nothing like that. He is already completely turned, in order to survive this world. And I think him being a Ghoul was a smart choice. Well, for one, because then you could have a character that lived pre-bombs and then a character who lives post-bombs. You can only really do that with the Ghouls because they can live theoretically forever. So you have him to really show what it looks like when the world really changes you to the point where you're not even the same person anymore. Both, you can see that physically, like with how he looks. And you can see that mentally with, like, where he's at, like the fact that, again, he will kill without a second thought if he thinks it means his chances of survival are going to go up. He even, doesn't necessarily, so like he says he doesn't torture, but he definitely does torture in one specific scene. Even if it's for a purpose, it's still torture. So, this is a guy, again, at this point, he doesn't seem to have a conscience anymore, and we see how different that is to how he used to be. So when he's introduced, you see that he's a guy that gets bullied a lot by the other Brotherhood of Steel members, because the Brotherhood of Steel in this show are kind of like a fraternity in a lot of ways, which I could see some Fallout fans having an issue with. For me, though, I didn't have an issue with that, only because, we only ever really see the Brotherhood of Steel when they're, like, suited up. We don't really see a lot of them when they're just, like, chilling out and having a good time. Even in Fallout 3, when you work with the Brotherhood of Steel at certain points, you're still not really seeing them as they let their guard down, and you're definitely not seeing them as they're training to become Brotherhood of Steel members. So to me, this kind of makes sense, although my friend did point out that we see a few of them smoking, and apparently that was something the Brotherhood of Steel was really strict against. So I guess you could say there are some minor continuity errors when it comes to that, but I don't think it really matters that much in the grand scheme of things, because again, he needed to point that out to me because I didn't even notice that. But we see that he's a guy that gets bullied, and he has a friend that stands up for him. But this friend is later chosen to be a Brotherhood of Steel member, which really upsets Maximus because of, just pure jealousy and things like that. So we find out the next day that his friend has gotten injured, and of course Maximus is the first person that they accuse because they know how jealous he was. And this is where the neutral part of this character comes in, because as they're trying to get him to confess, he does admit that he didn't do it, but when it happened, he was kind of glad. Again, the full jealousy taking over him. This eventually does land him the position of Squire, where he then learns that the Brotherhood of Steel are not the heroes that he looked up to as a kid. He, discovers that they're people, basically. They can be good, they can be bad, but they're people at the end of the day. And so the Brotherhood of Steel Knight that he ends up working for ends up just being a completely pathetic douchebag. So when he basically has a chance to take the suit from him because he's dying after getting mauled by like a mutant bear, he just takes it. Now, he doesn't kill him, but he also doesn't save him. And this is, again, why I would say Maximus is kind of the neutral guy when it comes to the Fallout series. So he's really the character that feels the most like a character you would play as in a Fallout game, in the sense that he's the one who's having like his moralities questioned, and you as the audience are never sure what exact path he's going to take with that. What's cool too is that with Lucy, again, we see her as kind of being the, paragon of the show. We see her interacting with the ghoul, and what's cool is that because of how different the two of them are, she swears that, she knows that she has to change in order to survive the wastelands. But she swears she's never going to turn into what he is. One other thing I do have to give a shout out to. Okay, so when Lucy is introduced, I really do hate using this term, but it gets thrown out there a lot on the internet. And it seems like whenever we get, a woman character in a movie who seems to be really good at what she does. And in the case of Lucy, in the case of Lucy, they show that she is pretty much good in every field of special. Now, those of you who don't know what special is, it's basically your stats in Fallout, and they make it seem like her stats are already maxed out and that she's going to have no problem surviving the wasteland. So even when I kind of saw this in the beginning, I'm kind of like, oh, really? That's kind of how they're playing it? Okay. But what I love about this, that's how they introduce her. They really want you to think she is going to be, able to survive this wasteland with no problem. We see early on, even before she leaves the vault, that is not going to be the case. And that's something I really like. They really build up that, just because you're really skilled, you may know what you're doing on paper, there's a very big difference between knowing and actual execution. So we see that with her. She struggles, really, really struggles to survive in this wasteland a lot. And not only through her moralities, but also physically, just, she has to make choices that she never thought she would have to make. She kind of just assumed that, she knew that going into civilization was going to be easy, but she thought that she didn't think it was going to be as hard as it actually was, So her attempting to survive there is a big challenge for her, and I absolutely love that. And so we get to see her interact with both Maximus and the ghoul, and what I like about her interactions with the ghoul is that essentially I think that he kind of helps reinforce everything she refuses to turn into. She even says she may end up looking like him, but she will never be him. And I think that is something that, I don't want to say whether or not that goes through at the end, because I don't want to spoil anything. But we also get to see her interact with Maximus, and I think because, again, when Maximus really starts the show, he's very much a neutral guy. So I think him basically going on a journey with Lucy, I don't know why I keep saying loosely. Sorry, there's an L in it. Sorry. With Lucy, the two of them going on an adventure, I think really is what develops him into being more of a paragon of good, by the end of the series. But again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get into spoilers. So all this to say that there's a lot of really cool contrasts and dynamics between our three characters that work extremely well. I think the story that we're given, I don't want to give too much away with the story or the plot, so I will just tell you that they are very entertaining. And when I was talking about the show with Indy during our podcast on Aplus Hero Report, one thing he mentioned is that he had some friends calling him up, letting him know that they were really confused as to what is going on. And that surprised me because even though, again, I have played the Fallout game, I always thought like the show was told in kind of a way where you didn't really need the knowledge of the games and you could still follow along just fine. But I rewatched the first 4 episodes and now I kind of see where that's coming from. This is a show that you do need to watch to the very end to really get what's going on. But it does get explained eventually. You just gotta pretty much be patient. Now, there is one kind of, I don't even know if I would really consider this a complaint, just kind of a weird way the show is structured. So the first 5 episodes, while it's not episodic, it's obviously serialized, they still feel like 5 episodes. But when we get to the last 3 episodes, that's when the structure of the show feels weird because it doesn't feel like 3 episodes. It feels like the last 3 episodes are one really long episode divided into 3 segments, but they don't really end on any cliffhangers that keep you going till the next episode. It just kind of feels like the episode ends and then you move on to the next episode, but it really feels like they're all 3 of them are part of the same episode. I don't know. I think that they could have been edited or structured just a little bit differently to make it feel more like a TV show, but maybe that's not what they wanted for the last 3 episodes. Maybe they wanted it to feel like one like long 3-hour movie, who knows. And then also the ending, there is a really cool stinger at the very end that I think Fallout fans are really gonna get excited for. But there's also not really a big conclusion to anything. Like, some things get wrapped up, but it definitely sets up a season 2. So hopefully the show gets renewed. I'm not sure if it's been announced whether or not it gets renewed or not, but hopefully it gets renewed. This is a great show. I definitely recommend checking it out. So definitely give it a watch if you are a fan of Fallout, or if you are just a fan of apocalypse movies. You don't have to be a fan of the Fallout franchise to enjoy this game, and that is the number one thing that the show does right. So definitely give it a watch if you haven't already. But at the end of the day, guys, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think. So definitely let me know your thoughts of the Fallout TV show in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. But of course, guys, above all, don't forget to keep it A+, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.